this is Mike with On Point Preparedness. I've been quietly observing the world over the last 2 weeks since my last video, and I've noticed a very interesting trend. Those who follow my channel recognize that I delve into the world of symbols and their meanings. However, language is a very important tool as well. And within the United States, I'm seeing very specific words being utilized across entertainment, politics, and in news in general. Let's start out with Pope Francis. On several occasions, he has told Catholics that God is telling us to, quote, rise up. On other occasions, specifically speaking to the youth, he has asked them to, quote, wake up. Anyone who is a fan of the popular Walking Dead TV series will recognize their new banner ad for February 2017 states, quote, rise up. This and many other zombie shows which are desensitizing us to the horrors of killing. Here is an ABC miniseries that is also starting in 2017, and it is called, quote, When We Rise, a chronicled retelling of the gay rights movement. Katy Perry also has released a new album called Rise. Another equivalent term that you have seen pop up, especially since Donald Trump was inaugurated president, is resist. Here you can see it being hung right in front of the White House. There are also several websites under the hashtag resist that have sprouted up. The Dakota pipeline activists are also talking about the rising. And I have to mention that in mentioning all these different resistance or rise up movements, I'm being impartial and am not agreeing with or disagreeing with any of them. However, regardless of the context used, I am disturbed in that these words are very synonymous with revolution. How about we hear the terms being used from Hillary Clinton herself?
Let resistance plus persistence equal progress for our party and our country.
Over the last decade, we have seen a multitude of nations go through civil duress, military coups, and even civil war. While the majority of these incidents were contained to the Middle East or smaller nations, we are certainly seeing this outpour onto the streets of France, Germany, Sweden, the United States, and many other Western powers. Specifically, here in the United States, we are significantly divided on almost every single social and political issue. And while I like a lot of what Donald Trump is saying, the truth of the matter is that he is not someone that will bring the parties of our country closer together. From Bush to Obama to Trump, the country has been cultivated to favor the extremes. And whether you are for or against Donald Trump, it's pretty safe to say that his political principles are favoring the far right. Here's another funny yet interesting thing you may have noticed during President Trump's speech to the joint session of Congress. On the majority of issues he spoke on, the Capitol was split right down the middle, with Republicans rising from their seats and clapping, while the Democrats sat down and remained silent. This is an almost identical situation with what happened during the Obama years and any of his State of the Union addresses, with the fact that Republicans sat down while the Democrats stood up and cheered. Similarly, depending on which social media outlet you watched the speech on, it was either all thumbs up likes or hateful faces. Just another example of how far apart the country is splitting. So, the message today is nothing new. As I've mentioned before, this is something that has been cultivated for a very long time, especially since the events of 9/11. And this is the global turmoil that is about to pour onto the streets of America. Although we don't know when, there is a multitude of evidence suggesting that it is getting precipitously close. With the police versus activist marches, a Federal Reserve debt that cannot be paid and will explode, any unforeseen military conflicts, or other black swan event, there is just any multitude of catalysts that can bring forth revolution. But as I've shown by this trend of words, it's something that the populace is craving. So as I've mentioned in my other videos, ensure you're preparing yourself, physically, mentally, and most importantly, spiritually in Christ Yeshua. This is Mike with On Point Preparedness. God bless.